Hi, I'm Christopher Runsman. Welcome to One Page Story Extravaganza. If you have a story idea you'd like to suggest, please put it in the chat or the comments. You can feel free to put it on the comments section in any of my social media or any of my posts at all. I do a one-page story from these ideas or ideas that are flown through my own noggin every single day, and I post them online. If you want to see the original art, it's on my Patreon. The link's down below for that and all of the other social media outlets. Join the community, have fun, subscribe to things, put the notifications on, all that jazz. But take part, have fun, watch for your suggestion to be made into a story, inspire others maybe with your idea, or, I don't know, be inspired to make some of your own. Either way, it's a lot of fun. Hope to see you soon. Lockman here. Here's today's page. I got it up on the screen right now. This is Milk. It Does a Body Good. This is from a suggestion from Philip H. One of the suggestions that came in from our attendance at London Comic Con this year. So I thought I'd show you that. We did it mixed media yesterday on jelly-plated paper. So there you go. Okay. We got a couple options for today. It's the same page. We got a couple options for today. I'm going to put something up on the screen. Look at this business. We got some upcoming events to talk about. I got some awesome mail I want to show you. Today I can work digitally if we want for a change today. But let's have fun and talk about the benefits of that to your health. Ding ding. Full on Friday. Here we go. All right. So yeah, I showed you today's page. This was a lot of fun to do. The originals for this, as usual, are on my Patreon, as well as the full page unfettered by my silly visage, as well as the text promoting the different jazz that we get up to. Hey, Dan's joined us. Hi, Dan. Welcome aboard. Hope everybody's been having a good day, Dan, and yourself. I got some fun in the sun to show you. This just came in. Let's switch to the overhead. This is some of my notes from the last few days. Pay no attention to those. I got the envelope turned upside down. Why is that, Chris? And what's with the goofy glove? I'll explain later. Look, my hand's cured. So, my mail came in today from Janet and the Zine Swap. And so, for those that are late to the party, I did 4 for our zines, for the Zine Swap this year. It was really nice to be invited to take part. So I did Hey You, Beavers, Magical Creatures, and Morning Hair, am I right? So these are the 4 zines that I did, and I sent those in to Janet. 10 copies of each, 1 of each for her, and 9 for somebody else. And so we got a mother load of these suckers back, which is super cool and super awesome. So I'm not going to go through them all right now. I think I might do a specific video just talking about how awesome these zines are. But I know Janet's gone through all these zines on her channel. But there are so many fantastic pieces that came in. Here's a number of the smaller pieces that came out. These are all awesome. They really are. I've had a chance only to look at a couple of them so far because I literally checked the mail half an hour before the stream here. So, but this one, I'm going to tell you right now, right off the hop, I've been singing this song ever since. I really like Roger Miller, and the fact that somebody did a Roger Miller page, a Roger Miller zine, made me tickled. So, hiya, Jen. Welcome aboard. Okay, so I haven't had a chance to look at these yet. I'm just going to go through them, but awesome. There's so much awesomeness here. I'm really excited to read all of these. And congratulations to everybody that took part. They're starting to slide down here. I got to figure out a different way to do this. But congratulations, everybody who took part. It's a lot to finish a story. It really is. It's a lot to finish a little zine. It's a lot to do anything along those lines because, you know, it takes some commitment, it takes some effort for follow through, right? But there's so many great pieces in here. I'm really excited to sit down and just spend some time just looking at all these. And I can't get over them. There's chicken and pickle. Oh, that's great. See, I could spend the entire day doing this, just looking at all these and just read them one after the other. So much goodness. A little dinosaur sat in a rock. Or lizards. And look at this one. This is this. Look at this. My goodness. There's the zine. Look at this fancy case. That is a fancy case. That's Peggy. There's so many cool things in here. Like I said, I'm going to try to do a video where I just talk about all the zines because I'm just so appreciative and impressed by them coming in. And thank you, Janet, for running that. Thank you, Dee Dee, for choosing all those prompts for everybody. And Dee Dee's not doing prompts this month because she gave her a break. But she'll when she gets back to pulling prompts for people and figures out a nice little orderly way for people to do it so it doesn't interfere with their stream too much. Take part in that. Involve yourself in that because it is some super fun. Jen, I'll be right back. Okay. Well, so I put forward the opportunity to that I could work digitally today if people want. I really don't care. I can work traditionally. I got so much stuff that I'm always itching to do, but I just thought I'd put that out there. Or maybe we can save it for Monday. It's up to you. First off, the Craft Hive. St. Thomas, Ontario. I'm going to keep talking about these people. I love them. They're just a fantastic place to go and pick up your supplies. We like going in to visit, that's for sure. So that's a good one. And then also I want to remind everybody to keep it experimental. Experimental. Everything's mental. Anyways. All right. Wow, that looks good. Great. What? Hey, cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. So there's today's page. Now, I was sitting on my leg. I've got these traditional surfaces that we can work on, or we can go digital today. Either one is fine by me. If there's any preference that people would like to see, a certain medium for that hey, work this way today, Christopher. Right on. I'm in. That's part of the fun. I haven't picked out our suggestion for today. The book. We've got the book down, folks. Oh, that's the pile over there. We got a little stack growing here of the prompt suggestions now. We're going to be sending emails out to a bunch of people. Jen loves paper. Okay, we'll stick with paper. All right. Before we get on with it, a couple more things. November 12th is coming up. I was just talking with an organizer this morning of the Words Festival here in London. It's a big literary festival that happens in the city. It's been run for 10 years by a guy named Josh Lambier. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He's been doing this for 10 years. He does it on his own. And it's a big event. And it's a week long and numerous venues and numerous events. A lot of planning, a lot of effort by this fella. And if I can't encourage enough for people out there, if you see stuff like this going on wherever you are, think about engaging yourself. If you've got the time, if you've got the opportunity, if you've got the energy that you're willing to help in, and even if it's just, you want me to help move this chair over here, whatever it is. I find myself included when you're organizing stuff or when you're the person that is the arranger of things. And for me, like I've been running the Comic Jam since 2015, which was just fine. It's fun. But I also have published 73 books. And with the whole publishing of other people, there's a lot of organizational stuff that has to go into that. And everybody, I often find that a lot of people get really excited about, I want, whatever the capitulation I get, whatever the benefit I get out of it. And then a lot of people, tons of enthusiasm. When's it happening? And they'll show up for their thing, but then they disappear. And it's all about community building and growth and stuff like that. So if there's anything going on like that near you, or if you're in the London, Ontario region or interested in getting involved with things like Words, reach out to people because it really helps them out. And it helps to foster and grow whatever creative community is around you. A lot of us do this digital creative community, and that's super fun. But if there's a local creative community that you're engaged in, Engage. Engage. All right, the book. This is the Book of Tricks, I believe we're calling it. All right, so okay, this is fast forwarding. Oh, can't let you see everybody's emails. All right, so we've done some traditional ones this week. We did a 3 prompt this week. We did at least 2 from the prompts from the convention. So let's, what do we got? We got so much fun on this page. Hipster, 2 hipster cops in comics. I'll have to look into that one. Gary, that we've done that. Lots and lots and lots. If anybody sees anything sticks out on the page, I'm missing stuff. I'm missing everybody talking, and I'm sorry for that. Jen loves paper. And then Dan says, I'm looking back and forth, middle of working this coloring book. Oh, nice. Just going to move my screen over here. Jump from the other screen to this one. Hey, I can see everything better. Hi, Dan. Morning, afternoon. Hi, Miriam. Welcome aboard. Okay, so I've got a whole gaggle of suggestions on this page. Frankenstein is a hairdresser. We could do another Frankenstein. I'm okay with that. If you let someone shenan, they'll shenan again. That's okay. That's just funny for me. We were cloned by aliens, maybe chicken aliens. Chicken conspiracy! Conspiracy chicken! Mischievous cat who stole a hot dog. All right. That sounds, well, we've got a lot of cat things we've been doing. Am I running? So I'm trying to get increasingly large objects onto the bus. I had mentioned earlier this week that I would do this one. So let's do this as our one today. Someone trying to get increasingly large objects onto a bus. See, the fun about, I want to write it down here. Increasing, whoops. Oh, here comes the typos. Tristan D. There's our suggestion for today. I don't know. What do we want to work on? Do we want to work on jelly plated paper? Do we want to work on normal paper? Do we want to... Those are pretty crazy, dark and creepy colors, huh? You can see some colors in there. I can when I look in the monitor. All right, well, here's today's suggestion. And just looking for some a fun color, a fun approach. Is there anything specific for drawing medium that people would like me to use today? We got colors. We got colors, folks. We got some colors on this here surface. You know what I could do? Why don't I grab, I got a gray tone here. Yeah, but it's got Braille off on it. Okay, I'll grab some gray paper and we'll do one of those good old intermediate tone drawings. How's that? So I was going to put the camera on Corbin for a minute, but he's a little camera shy today. Said no one ever. Corbin's never camera shy. All right, we're back. Okay, so what do we got? A greenhorn. What does a greenhorn mean? What is a greenhorn? I am blissfully unaware of a great deal of things in this old thing we call world. Okay, today we're going to draw a ballpoint pen, black ballpoint pen, on some gray tone paper, and then we'll add some elements of white into that. and have some fun there. And that's how we're going to work today. Why? Just because it sounds fun. All right, I'm just trying to clean my stuff up, pull up City Bus, and let's get crack-a-lackin'. I'm new. Okay, I'm new. Well, new or not, Dan, you are more than welcome to anybody that joins us. You know, Jen, you as well. Anybody that takes part in the stream here, you are more than welcome to send it in the comments on the YouTube or in comments on my Instagram or Facebook or for Patreon subscribers. You're fully welcome to put forward ideas for one-page stories, and let's have some fun together doing those. So, you know, by all means, don't ever feel like just because people are new that they can't jump in. Just dive right in. This is a open space. Dan says, I'm not used to a lot of different materials, but working Derwent and Prismacolor pencils. Okay, well, let's explore that. Have you ever done much with ballpoint? We'll do some ballpoint pen drawing today. This, by the way, is a two-fingered glove. Now, the reason that there's this big opening here, pay no attention to the curly fingers, but the reason that this is open is that when I'm drawing digitally, these two fingers have the glove on it, so it doesn't mar up the screen. So that's what you saw in my hand earlier. Okay, yeah, so always feel free to suggest ideas, by all means. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, so let's start. Our suggestion, once more. I jumped the minute I arrived. There we go. Okay, so someone trying to get increasingly large objects onto a bus. No. Was that what you were doing with the crumb example the other day? No. Ballpoint. Okay, let's go through the differences. When you're working with a fine point pen and you're just doing line art, the only way that you're going to get gray tone is by multiple marks, like so. You know, things like crosshatch. You can do some stippling, lots of little dots, right? Or you can do thicker lines, thinner lines. There's a number of different ways that you can draw visually. Now, it tends not to be a medium when you're drawing like that, where you're working like so and then purposely smudging stuff. You don't see a lot of that happening. Now, the difference with that and ballpoint pen, which is another ink mark making tool to use, is that ballpoint pen gives you the facility for gray scale control. And so because it lets you, depending on the pressure you put down on your mark making tool, have these light lines, but at the same time, as you press down heavily, you get these really dark lines, and you get the same thickness and thinness control as you do with a fine art pen. But with a ballpoint pen, it gives you a lot more play if you want to put in more than just really a singular value of black on whatever the color of surface it is. And so you can get some real gradation going on with a ballpoint. And in addition to that, ballpoint, by putting some marks this way and then coming back in the opposite way, allows you to build up and develop textures and develop a depth of value using even just this light mark making as you're doing in one point. So there's great benefits to explore the differences between the two. Now, with that in mind, the fountain pen that I used for the crumb drawing works the same as a fine art pen, right? So you've got your single line making, you've got your hash work just the same as you do with a fine art pen, you've got stippling just the same as you do with a fine art pen. You know, the difference with fountain pen is that depending on the type of ink that you use, depends on how much smudging you're going to get or how much ability you're going to have drag lines like I showed you here. That's why I showed you the fine art pen first. This is what I did, the drawing style that you thought was like crumb, which is generally just a fountain pen drawing style. It's not like it's unique to crumb. It's if you look back on Victorian era illustrations, you'll see a lot of work like that. So, because that's primarily the thing that they're using, one of those. Or a dipping pen. Now, a dipping pen is where you have a quill on, just a sec, I'll show you. I got one of my tools here. Is this you? No. Well, now I can't find it. Anyways, what a dipping pen is that you've got a thing of ink and you've got a little nib on the end of a handle that you can change the nibs. You dip it in the ink and you make your marks with the ink until it runs out. Now, different nibs gives you different effects and lines, and different techniques that you use in that gives you a whole variation on lines. So there's so much different stuff that you can do with ink. Then there's brushwork with ink, dry brush with ink, wet brush with ink. It's a whole world to explore and have some fun with. And it's fantastically messy. All right. So would you lay down a layer of white using the ballpoint, get the blending or swatch you like? Well, we'll walk through that. We'll go through that in just a sec. Dan says, like a calligraphy pen? Yes, that's what a fountain pen is just like. It's like a calligraphy pen. That's also what a dipping ink pen is like. Like a calligraphy pen, it depends on the nib you're using. If you're using a pointed nib like so, because it's such a thin tip on that, you're not going to get those nice wefts, those nice sweeping, thick and thin values, because it's a small nib. The larger the nib you get, with the more flat and broad surface at the end, you're going to get those calligraphy lines. And I can walk through that next week. I'll show everybody some calligraphy stuff. Well, I'm not doing calligraphy writing. That's not my jam, and other people do it so much nicer than I do. Check out some of Dee Dee's videos on that one. But I'll show you some drawing stuff of those. What do we got? We got Jim's joined us. Hiya, Jim. How are you? If you get a chance, and you didn't get one last night, Jim put up his latest episode of Hey Man, how's your movie going? Where he interviewed Mr. Paul Pate. Jim is a fantastic animator who is working on his new animated feature film, full-length film, animated by one guy. And he's flying through it. He's making huge progress on it. And last night he interviewed Mr. Paul Pate, who was just had one of his animations shown at a festival. And Paul has also done 2 Rust City graphic novels, over 200 pages each, and he's working on the 3rd one right now. So, and he's posting pages up as regularly as I post things up on his Instagram. That's how I'm going to say now. Okay. Hey, I got the camera going the wrong way. There we are. Hi. Okay, so back down to here. Now, the reason that I picked this dark paper as opposed to this slightly lighter paper, and maybe we'll play with both of them, is that there's a fantastic thing, depending on the value of paper that you use, where you can get what I call a tertiary color. A tertiary color. Your primary color being the value of the page. The secondary color is the mark making medium that you're using and the color that's within it, or the colors that's within it. And in the case that I'm specifically referring to today, when I say the tertiary color, it's the 3rd value. And this 3rd value, oh, Chris has joined us to say hi. She's heading to their class. Have a great day, Chris. Thanks for stopping in. So that 3rd value, mark making tool, surface of the paper, right? You know, and you can add in a secondary element, like you got your surface of paper, you got your mark making tool, and then you can put in like a nice contrasting value, so that as you're drawing here, you can come up with something a little more dense. And the reason that you can get a little more denseness out of it is that it'll let you basically find those contrast values, those raised surfaces on the cheeks, the lowered values, you know, within the dimples or whatever. I'm going to try to pull up an image for you right now. I think, yeah, there we go. Here's a couple pages I'm going to pull up. I'm just going to switch the camera over for a moment. So these pages, this is exactly what we're talking about today. And this is a 2-page piece that was done from a suggestion about phobias. But it was, no, the suggestion for this was 6 prompt words, 6 words. And because it ended up being things like toilet and toaster and all of these different sort of T words, we just did it as one page. And so there's page 1, and then there's page 2. But these are all drawn on grayscale papers using black and white. And so that's where you get that 3-color value thing going on. When you go in with text and you put that over top of it, it just sort of, and give it a nice flat background. It sort of ties it all together, right? So it's just how you go about doing things. But this is a fun way to approach it. This was drawn largely in pencil crayon. Dan says, reminds me of great artwork I used to read in Heavy Metal 40 years ago. Oh, Heavy Metal Parade magazine. I used to love that. And oh, very cool. Thanks, Jen. So there's a whole bunch of different effects you can get out of stuff. This is pencil crayon that I'm showing you right now. So let's get into some pen today, though, and we'll use this darker paper. So let's start off. Our suggestion today is he rolls back to the start to remember what it was. Someone trying to get increasingly large objects onto a bus. Okay, so there we go. So that's what we're going to work on now. Jim says, amazing. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jen has to run up with the fam. Hey, have some good fun with the fam. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, so along these same lines, so I'm going to put some marks down. Now, there's 2 ways we can approach it. You can work in a positive or you can work in a negative, right? So you can put some of the lines down for the objects, or you can put the lines down for the, the shapes and tonal values outside and around the objects or inside the objects. But we're going to start here and really play with some values and move across our bus and draw in some of these reflections that are on the windows. And so when you're thinking about your object that you're drawing, and in this case today, it's a bus, city bus, I'll leave you on. Oh, well, that's very nice. Thanks, Jen. On what? On the table? Okay, so I'm thinking about the structure of the bus, thinking about how it moves in perspective, and then we're going to develop our image here as though it's moving into the space. So I'm trying to think that some of these reflective. Hi, bud. Corbin says hi, everybody. But you can't help up today. You're determined to do it. This is my studio helper, folks. This is the guy that he's the one that really creates all the work. That's just in case you were ever wondering. It's Corbin that does stuff. Okay, so we're drawing the bus, and we're drawing its windows, and then we're going to draw the space. So I work on a strange angle, I know, almost sideways with the brush, and I have a piece of paper towel here specifically so I don't do this. There have been instances in the past where this has looked like the worst gray splotchy tattoo that you've ever seen. And Lori said, "For stop doing that." So So I have this paper towel. And the reason that I have this here is that when you're working on one side of a pen, okay, the ink, the residual ink that was coming out, because it comes out equally out of the bottom, when you're working really on one side of it, the rest of it dollops up on the other side. And then occasionally you'll turn your pen and you get this big smudgeable part, this big little smudge drab of ink. So what I do is I keep the paper towel nearby so I can turn that over and get rid of the stuff. Get rid of the smudgy ink. So, little things, eh? I don't necessarily like being messy. And, my work would be flat out chaotic, but in the studio, I tend to be a little Mr. Tidy. So, one of the little people, remember those? So, as I'm drawing in these windows, I'm putting in these little spacer lines, and these are, the panes of glass. This is the separators for the panes of glass. So, see it? See the dollop right there? Just you sort of get in the routine of it, and it's not perfect. I'm going to get messy bits on this all the time, but that's okay. We're doing our best. We're going as we're going, right? We're just doing what we can, folks. So think about the top of this line in correlation to the top of this line as it moves back to our receding point. If you need to take a ruler, find a vanishing point here, hold your paper static, and draw everything back to that line for yourself and give yourself a grid while you're working, do so. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to use the methods that you need to use in order for your drawing to be exactly what you needed it to be. Okay, so here's our bus coming together. I'm going to round this tip at the top, just because buses do that. And then there's our front window on the old autobus. So, bus is a nice simplistic shape, right? It's very easy shape to manage, but there's things that you got to remember. And amongst those things to remember is mirrors attached to the side and stuff like that. It's the little, they're called greebles and some, in motion pictures when you're making models for those things. All the little fiddly bits that are on the bottom of spaceships are called greebles. But it's just those little extra bits of information that makes it feel a little more realistic. All of these things have some kind of purpose to them, right? Okay, so here's our line that moves across the front of our bus. And there's the top of it, and then we're going to have one more little feature on here, which is the sign on our bus for where this bus is going. Where's it going? Nowhere! Anyways, so yeah, I'm looking forward to an evening out tonight. We are going to the theater. I'm not sure what the name of the show is, but yeah, so here's our bus coming together. Dang, I didn't bring a true toy. Except for Corbin. Check out. Corbin keeps me honest. So we're working on some time-lapse videos. We went out last night and picked up a tripod to put the camera on and over the thing, so we'll be doing some fast-paced videos that'll be coming up as shorts and that soon. We're really trying to make some stuff happen here. You know? Anna? So I put my little bus driver in here. All of this is sort of toned back so that we can not get mistaken in focusing on the wrong thing. If we want to focus on the interior of the vehicle, we'll make that more the important part of the image, but we're not so concerned about that. We're concerned about just the overall image itself, that somebody's pulling up in a bus. If you need to use rulers for this stuff, use rulers for this stuff. There's no, again, if somebody's like, I can't believe you got to use a ruler. Stop talking to that person. Okay, so here's our bus coming together. And before I get moving on into too much stuff, I'll get into some of the little white additions that we're going to put to this image. I'm going to try to do a whole bunch of little things because we've got to illustrate in this a whole bunch of information. So I really want to have some fun with it. And because we're talking about objects getting increasingly larger as someone's trying to jam in the bus, we're gonna start thinking about scale. And so that's where it becomes interesting to make objects get larger on the page as we go, or stuff like that, or however we can figure it out. Where can a person buy tickets for the bus? Down on the corner of 36th and Main. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this background information in. So the video I was talking about earlier with Jim and Paul is on Jim Luan's YouTube channel. Look it up under his name. Fun interview and some little snippets and little behind-the-scenes stuff about the process of making. It's very cool. So just putting some interesting values and shapes back here. And we got a little more creative in a second with the white coming in. So Miriam says I have a freezer to move. That's great. Okay, so what I've got now is a white jelly roll pen. Excuse me, Corbin. Thank you, sir. And a white pencil crayon. Now, so if I start looking at the surface here of the bus, and I start putting in some of this tertiary value, as I was talking about before, it lets me put a little bit more, because I get that there's more complexity in the tonal shading of it. It gives a little bit more realism to the object that's in the image. And it just makes it feel a little more real, a little bit, It's still a scribbled drawing on a piece of paper. So we're not going to fool ourselves and go, that looks like it's real. It doesn't. It's like a drawing. But we're okay with that. But we are going to pull out some of these values. Now, the reason I started with this white is because of the softness of its approach. If I want to put, and this goes for anything when you're doing any kind of shading or any kind of build-up of value on something. If you start with the softer value and you work towards the sharper values. Like I haven't gotten a really hard, heavy black split down on this, the drawing of the bus yet, and that's entirely because I'm working up to it. I'm working up to those hard contrasts. Now, other people will just place them as they go. That's great. But let's take a moment. Let's get there. Let's get there together. Come on, everybody, kumbaya. Let's all sit together in a bus. And different pressure with the pencil is going to put different levels of marks on your paper. So. Okay, so I'm going to come in 2/6 with the sharper white. When I'm doing this Inktober thing this month, I'm clearly not putting any complexity in the drawings. I give myself 5 minutes to 10 minutes to do those. And, you know, they're pretty basic things with just a lot of ink washes. That's all it is. Whereas with something like this, we can take a few minutes and try to build up and develop something a little more interesting, something that's got a little more to it. So, isn't that right, Corbin? That's right, Dad. Yeah, we'll build that up more in a second. Okay, here comes the jelly pen. Now, think about something like a jelly roll pen is that depending on the weight on the pen, 5 is it's very thin, more like a writing pen, like what we're using here with the Papermate. That's all that is a Papermate. And then you get into 8, which gets a nice little thicker, more controlled amount of ink that comes out of it. And this is a 10, which is just sort of like a blunt tool. Just pretty much the same as your standard, you know, thick old standard ballpoint. So, but I'm going to use it just for hits. And so these are these little highlight hits here that are going to move through the image and just give a little extra pinch, right? I'll hold this up to the camera in just a sec. Okay. Nice. So you can see the different. I should focus better. Maybe this one will focus better. No, it just washes out, doesn't it? Sorry, guys. So with this, you can see how we're building up, you know, this much brighter contrasting values now. And that gives us a better sense of some degree of realism to it. So kinds of little things that we can do just to bring in something a little more interesting to the objects that we're drawing. So we got so the reason I put the ink down and then tap it is so it diffuses it and it just smudges it a little bit but doesn't make it disappear. So we've got some good contrasting white there, and we got some interesting darker brownies, but let's push things a little bit more. Yeah, Mr. Interested beside me. I call him Mr. Interested when he leans back like this. What are you doing, a bird? Reem says, both my dogs are beside me. I think they are fascinated with your drawings. You'll know it when they look at you go. That's the case. Let me know. Really excited to sit down and read all of those zines, and I'm looking forward to doing this lecture soon, and a couple of other different exciting things we got coming up. You know, if there's anything I can do to help anybody out, or we can talk about art or something on your channel, let me know. I'm always open to that stuff. If anybody wants to try doing a one-page story on their channel for a little bit, we can do that too. That's always fun. Okay, so I'm gonna punch up the wheels now. Let them jump up a little bit. Am I missing stuff? We're doing okay. Okay, we're doing okay. The dark emphasis on the doorway here. Today's music, by the way, is the magic numbers. I'm listening today. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that band, give it a try. Okay, so I think we're going to need, let's see, a couple more elements. This is have windshield wipers. Which is always fun. Anything else I'm thinking of? Now, if we really want to push a bus off of the background, we can do a thicker outline line, or a denser line in the exterior of it. But let's just stick with what we've got here, because this is kind of fun. All right, so we're going to push some shadow lines in here behind. Now, if you have drawing pencils or drawing pens or paints or whatever specific thing you like to work from, really play with those things. Really play with them. Really experiment. Really do what you can to develop some measure of comprehension, some measure of understanding about what it is that we're using. And play with it. Have some fun. So the reason that I went over the shadow on the bus again is because as I'm doing the pavement, I want to keep a separation between the two. If you're going to move your drawing around, by the way, move your drawing around. Some people can just sit there static with their image. I find those people are very animated and moving around as they draw. Because I'm drawing sitting still, I'm going to spin that drawing around a little bit. So, is there anybody that might be watching the stream that does a lot of drawing with ballpoint pens? They're fun. They're relatively inexpensive. I guess let's see. Got one. I've been watching Portrait Artist of the Year today, so it's great to see the painters and their different styles. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's books out there like the American Society of Illustrators book and other similar things that let you get a look at all kinds of different styles and approaches and projects of people. And, the tutorials happen on the website. Okay, so let's crisp up this outside line. Now I'll do this from time to time where I leave this tiny little handle around the vehicle. It can look pretty artificial, but at the same time, really, it's a strong way to not have your foreground object directly blend into the background object, but just leaving the tiniest, skinniest little handle there. Some fun shapes, building up our background. Experiment with your lines, crosshatch if you must, or whatever. The bus is coming. Psst, it's winter. Make it winter. It's a little late now. No, it's not. See, I'm used to Canadian winters. I don't know what like winters are where other people live. But here we get snow. We get a lot of it. All right. So we're just putting some colors on some of these properties in the background. There, all right. Sure, I'm not missing stuff there. So, those of you that are new, sometimes I can't help myself. I'm just a stinker. And earlier I showed you that my hand is, you don't really see how crooked the last two fingers are in my hand because my hand's always moving. But I like to make up excuses for why things are the way things are. I always have. think it's fun for me. I don't care about, whether anybody gets it, but I made this is how I can draw, and I made a deal with a demon. This is not true at all. I made a deal with the devil. Make my last two fingers all bent up, so I can draw. And he went, you got a bargain, man. Like that. It's played by Nicolas Cage. Might have just been Nicolas Cage for all I know. So we're pushing another bright, contrasty value into the image and just washing out the sky that's in the background here. So there's our first panel. Now, working in ballpoint lets you have so much fun with controlling the values. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary Hodges. Hi, Gary. For anybody that hasn't seen Gary's work yet, please go check it out. So here's our bus in terrible focus. My camera is set for here, so. But we got our bus begun. Now, just like you did with the light, if you can figure out how pencil crayons work and where they keep themselves. Mine like to move around. This is my wife's favorite part, by the way, of live streams, is when I'll say, oh, here, I'll just grab this. And then all you hear is me rooting around through different pencil crayons and pens and markers and trying to find whatever the tool is. She's like, that's the best part of your streams. She's, of course, being silly. Carrie says, happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday, Carrie. Wait, it's Friday? Uh-oh. So I'm just coming in, putting some soft values in here, just little punches. Just gives it, like I said before, a little bit of hey now, what now? So. All right, so here's our bus entering into the scene. Okay, so there's two things you can do. You've drawn a bus. You did it, right? And now that you've got your bus drawn, do you sit there plumbing around for all kinds of photos for the perfect bus and the perfect, everything drawn to look like everything's supposed to be, it's photorealistic state? No. You're a storyteller. You're trying to tell a story here. You're not trying to take a photograph. So, knowing what we know about buses from our first picture, let's draw another picture of a bus from another angle. Okay, so you can continue working in just the ballpoint, or, you can allow yourself to draw the thing roughly in pencil in advance of doing the ballpoint work. Keep in mind that if you're going to use pencil crayon, it may well not erase as easily as you would like. So keep an eye out for stuff like that. What's up, buddy? It's fun little bits and bobs. That's what I call them. Okay, so let's pull our bus up. So we're going to move closer in our frame. I do this sometimes where I'll just make these editorial jumps in the image. We've introduced the bus. And we've introduced it from, hey pal, we've introduced the, thank you, Corbin. But let's pull in on the bus now. Let's get into the, introduce our character getting onto the bus. So let's look at it pulling right up in front of us. I don't know why I started doing all this with pencil cream. Let's get that pencil cream away, Corbin. Let's get the pencil cream away. Oh, Corbin's coming to draw. Get comfy, pal. Okay, not that comfy. You can use a ruler. Says Chris, not using a ruler. Okay, you're on my wire. Get off my wire. Lifting him by his butt. Okay, hit the bricks. I had to lift him by his tail. He did not like that. You going to sit back down or you're going to go play? What are you doing? Come on. Just come sit down. You're going to go over there? Jump. There you go. Okay. Oh, yeah, there's a good spot. So I'm changing this angle. I'm thinking about how the door is recessed a little bit from where the windows are. I'm thinking about how, as the bus pulls up, you're not going to see all of the second recess because of the angle of the bus. Focus on where the door opens. Let's make sure we get our what are these called? Rear view mirrors. Yeah, I should have left a little space there. So we're just thinking about the construction of the mirror, looking at our previously drawn image and replicating that. So follow our line up. There we go. So we're just putting together the elements as we're introducing the bus doors pull up, and this would be a fun place to put some text down along the bottom, like as the bus comes to a halt. Those air brakes kick in. You can use little things like that. And it just keeps it interesting. If you need to pencil out where your pencil lines are going to go first and then erase them after, do that. That suits your fancy. Depending on how hard you press with the eraser, though, you're going to take out some of your pen lines. So be aware of that. So I think that for the talk I'm going to do as part of this festival, I think that what I'll do is just the same thing that we do here, and that is talk about storytelling, or making up a page to incorporate visual and textual elements, right? Okay, I've been doing a lot of gabbing. Has anybody got a project they're working on today? Has anybody got something they're in the midst of? I ask this each day, but feel free to say I'm working on this. And if yesterday said I'm working on this, and you still are, you can still say I'm working on this, because somebody might not have watched yesterday's video. Right, Corbin? What you talking about, man? Okay, so now we want to figure out the center of our bus. Door entry here, so we can make sure that we get that center line in there. So we're going to start adding a whole bunch of new features to the stream here. Some fun things. And I'll be announcing stuff as we go, so keep an eye out for those. Okay, so it's just not upstairs in your office. All right. If you, the zine swap that I showed earlier today, if you want to learn how to do that and you've missed some of the recent tutorials that people have done on their channels, like Janet and Dee Dee, I think Miriam and Chris were talking about it on their various channels. You can do that too. I can show you how to do a one-page story that can be, also double as a zine, a foldable zine. It's all about how we create them, right? So the details are changing a little bit because we're up close. So we're going to see some things a little more clearly. Like what's inside this doorway. What's inside these windows. So this is also another thing, by the way, that if you need to pencil everything out for yourself, for your composition, do it. It's your working process and however you go about creating your images and finding this other form of self-expression. There's no right and wrong here. There's no, well, of course, I don't do that. Everybody does whatever works for them. So. Now, I'm not going to get too much in the front window of this thing. I'm just going to connect to the viewer to that this is where it is. Just tracking everything there. What are we at? An hour 10. So like I said before, underneath the door here is probably going to be some sort of psh sound. Okay? And then this is our intro line for, on a smelly day, whatever it is. If you can, if you know your story type is one thing, like in this case, the suggestion is a person puts a heavier and heavier object onto the bus. Whatever your intro line is or whatever your title is, try to connect it to the key element of the narrative. In this case, it's a person trying to cram things on a bus. So I wouldn't say on a smelly day. I'd say one arduous afternoon. Use some kind of text. Some different, illustrative element, but verbally, right? So that it connects your reader, not just visually, but through the literary aspect of it, they're still getting the notion of what the core idea is here. And if they look at the two together, right, in conjunction with one another, it just enhances it. And so it's those, trying to think of those little things and the immediate attempt that we're making to try to draw our viewer in, to draw our reader in as much as we can, as soon as we can, into the world that we're using here, the world that we're building here. And especially in a case of like with, specifically, he's yawning now, I'm yawning. Especially in a case of, for me, like when I do all these one-page stories, I need, when you flip that page, to figure out that each page is substantially different enough from the one before it so that you don't just blend them together. But at the same time, when you're introduced to whatever the next new pages, as you go through the book, the collected edition, that you're able to just jump into that new page on the flip. So we want to try to, not just do something that's remarkably different enough from the previous image, but at the same time, we want to do it with enough draw for you to just dive right in. Oh, it's Luke Skywalker on a bus. I've seen that before. What's his dad's name, Dark Father? It's a German joke. Darth Vader translates to Dark Father, German. Okay, so we know that there's going to be, you close your mind's eye, or open your mind's eye and close your eyes and think about, there's going to be a ledge of just a slight curl of metal up above the doorway. And something as simple as that is that when you've got all of this rain pouring down on top of the bus, none of it is going to drop into the eyes of people as, some little drip drap deluge as they try to go onto the bus. Because that little metal lip that I'm thinking about in my head, that I'm just intimating with just a line here, that keeps the rain off. And so it's thinking about things. Close your eyes, open your mind's eye, and think about a bus. What's a bus look like? Think about all the times you've seen a bus or played with a toy of a bus, or think about not just the key elements, but the little Philly bits. Philly bits, Corbin. Yeah. So it's the weekend coming up. I hope everybody's got a big weekend, fun planned for themselves. And, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to stay in the house. Well, while you're in the house, have some fun. Do some fun things in the house. We've got some plans. I'm going to spend some time hanging out with John Jr. tomorrow. Now, while I'm in St. Thomas, I might check out the Craft Hive. Might not, might resist myself to go down there. Spend enough on supplies. Don't need to keep just getting more supplies. Rainy day once a minute. But we've talked about doing some workshops there in the St. Thomas area too. So if anybody lives up near there, this might be a fun way to come say, hey, hey. We'll see. We're working on it. But we've got the November 12th date set up for a lecture at TAP, Center for Creativity in downtown London. So Miriam says the weekend is here in Israel, and it ends on Saturday night. There you go. Yeah, you gotta have some fun. Hey, looking through the doorway of the bus, and I'm thinking about the bus driver, how they sit elevated from where we stand looking at them. So we want to be conscious of the fact that we can silhouette them out. We don't have to draw, an absolutely clear and representable bus driver. We can reduce them down to sort of blurry silhouette. Doesn't matter. We're just having fun. Do we put them in a hat, though? Huh? You bet your sweet Aunt Bippy we're putting them in a hat. Put the small raised thing in front of them where you put your change in. And, let me on that there bus. Here's my bus ticket. That thing. So we'll continue this imagery here of bus driver, and then there's the big old chair, etc., etc. Then a wall in behind them separates them from those people, the passengers. Yeah. Well, whatever it is you're doing this week, and if you don't have plans, give yourself the opportunity to do something for yourself with yourself. I've always wanted to learn this. I've always wanted to try something like that. Boy, I love a good walk in the woods. I like to chase squirrels with my dog. People get weirded out about me on all fours playing in the mud. Whatever it is. Okay, so we're putting in some of these identifiable elements, and then we're going to think about a little sense of depth. We'll think about the window on the opposite side of the bus. Just, again, to make it a little interesting. Somebody sitting there in a big old hat. Now, I'm not going to the edges of the inside of the windows on purpose. I want to leave a little tiny bit of space for us to play with the light. And there's the first passenger sitting there at the front of the bus. And then there's the top step. We'll start that into the image. Now, most modern buses, Thank goodness they don't have all those top steps in, but I'm just immediately flashing back to the buses when I was a kid. So I'm going to spend more time on a bus. And the window behind the bus driver. And since we've got a bit of it in our image here, let's put some reflection on the glass. And we're using, like I said before, this sort of gray value system that we're drawing with the pen. We're building up, right? We built up to these high contrasting values on this. We'll do the same on that one. What I can do on this one, this is what happens when you push this a little bit more. The lines on the middle. Zinger! Okay, so let's start working up some of these light values. And we'll a few more minutes here on this, and then we'll wax existential about life, the universe, and everything in it. Oh, is that all, Chris? Yep. Existentiality. So with the pencil nub that I'm using, sorry, right there, with this guy, I'm not pressing heavily. I'm not pressing really sharply unless I want a really contrasty white, right? If I want a nice sharp line there, I'll put that pressure down on top. But I've also got the jelly roll to do the same thing. Jelly roll pen, like here, where we've got the overlap. That's okay because we're going to have a little bit of reflection on the metal. Now you don't realize that the overlapping lines were there. Okay. The seam around the window on the metal. So just think about, close your eyes if you have to, and think about the thing you're drawing. If I'm drawing a box, I know that a box is a cube. Now I'm going to make a serration across that cube and put a hinge on the back of where that serration is. Now I got a thing that lifts and closes and lifts and closes. And then the lines are on the exterior of that box, right? The sides of the box on the outside. Well, there's sides of the box on the inside that matches those out there. Start with the basic box, and they get more complicated as you go. But when you think about the thing you're drawing, you shouldn't need to sit here and have tons of resource images everywhere for you, because you got all this inside your noggin. You got it already. You don't need no 800 photos of buses. So you can get those light lines with the white as well. You just gotta play around with it a bit. And again, like I said before, you can get these pens in 5, 8, 10, and you wouldn't have to do so much monkeying around to get different thickness and thinness of lines like I'm doing. Because I'm using a 10, I'm using a much heavier words are hard today. Thickness for the pen. So So this is, I'm starting with the highest contrast, which is this window behind the bus driver. Picking that up a little bit. And then there's the first window on the opposite side of the bus behind the first passenger. So we'll get some of that in. This makes it a little more interesting, right? And then we'll put a little thin guiding line on the interior of these window panes. This is why we left that little space. Because we're pretty and we plot things in advance. Now, I haven't put the pencil crayon in too much. It's because I really wanted to play with a little bit of this first. Okay, so now we're starting to give some form. It's just slow buildups. And then I've gone over to the inside seam because it's not as in direct light. So we put some color on the inside of the bus and just give it a little form. So, you know, I don't know, looks, it feels sort of like a bus here, but it just takes, you know, trial and error, a little bit of practice and whatnot. If we're going to make it a heavier shadow, we can put some little shadow lines coming from our objects and receding back. You know, fun stuff like that. Thicker to thinner line up here underneath this applies a shadow. All that jazz. Good fun in the sun. But because we chose this darker gray paper, it gives us a lot of middle value. And so it lets us start to define a lot of tone. So there we go. We spent a little bit of time here doing this today. Got a couple of fun little panels. Now they're not perfectly square panels, not perfectly shaped panels. If I'm going to do an open-ended page where I'm not going to do any manipulation of the borders around the panels, then I'll try to make them clearly more uniform in size or shape to the best of my extent, so that I don't have to do any farting around with it after. But we're not doing that with this. We're not going to cut out each of these panels and have it nicely cased in a box, in a sharp square box or rectangular box. You know what I mean? Depending on the shape of the object, the objective panel itself. So, but it lets us play with scale and stuff like that as well too. You can make things bigger and smaller. But we've already got our start. Here's our bus. Bus driver pulls up. The sound of the air brakes as it stops. And our next panel, we can have either the bus driver opening the door and, hey, come on in there, you know, or we can just immediately have somebody stepping onto the bus with an object in their hand. But it might be fun to accentuate the object in the hand, like they step on holding up a spatula. You know, something silly with something fun. By the way, this has been good fun today. I hope any of this demonstration stuff that as I'm drawing these pages, I hope this is helpful to people. You know, it's just I'm doing whatever on a whatever day-to-day basis. And so if there's different things that people want to, some ideas about that, that I've done pages in the past, and you can get an idea for the pages in the medium that I've used, just flip through the stuff on Instagram and Facebook or Patreon, and you'll see all the previous pages. So there's a bunch of examples of things. If you want to learn how to draw on a page with just white, you want to do things in just pencil, and then add a little tiny bits of ink for accents points with black, we can do that. Next week there's I want to do some pencil crayon stuff. That's always open. So many things. Miriam is suggesting I put in a fridge. Oh, fridge was definitely on my list. And I'm thinking about how do I play with some of the ways that these things are getting loaded on. Like the fridge, I'd like this like a 2-wheel trolley as they're trying to pull it up onto the bus. Grand piano, that one's gonna be fun. So this is lots of ideas and lots of exploration and lots of playing can happen here in order for us to make this be what we want it to be. But we got to start, and we got an idea of what the bus is looking like, so we don't need to look up any more source imagery on that. We just keep redrawing different perspectives, and as we go into our mind's eye and think about the different facets that make up a bus, we'll be informed by all those little different things. So with that, I think I'm going to let everybody go off and have a fun weekend. I will be back Monday at 2 p.m. EST, North American Eastern Standard Time. This weekend I'll be posting stuff. I'll be posting stuff on Patreon. We've got 2 mini books up in the store on Patreon now for people that want a little 12-page flippy book to print out for themselves of a number of pages that we've done. What's a 4-page, 12 images? You know what I mean? And there's some fun in the sun like that. We'll be adding some more as we go along. But in the meantime, we got a busy weekend, and Laura and I are going to get ready to go to the theater. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you for all your ideas. Miriam's writing down elephant, fridge, all kinds of things for me to use. That's great. I appreciate that. As always, if you want to reach out to me, if you got suggestions for 1-page ideas or anything like that, let me know. Put it in the comments here or anywhere else on my social media. Please feel free to do so. There's no such thing as too new to engage. You're here. You came in the door. Let's have some fun. So on that note, I'll see you on Monday. And bye for now. Thanks for coming out, everybody. I like the elephant idea too. That's good. I'll write that